I think a lot of people think they develop all their block clutching skills from practicing in real games. But that practice is inefficient because the opportunities you get to practice block clutching are staggered and found few and far between everything else that happens in game. This is true for most anything. If you want to get good at something fast, you want dedicated, concentrated practice for it. Load up a single player world. Either recreate a simulation of a bedwars map or skywars map, like I did, or download some. There's even maps dedicated to training block clutch ability specifically. If you really want to get your block clutch practice in a real game though, Hypixel's Bridge Duels is probably your best bet. Whatever works, there just needs to be ways you can practice block clutching that simulates a real game environment. In designing this tutorial, I've been consulting with an old good friend, Udemy, certified bedwars boomer and block clutching mastermind. Pause this video to gaze upon his achievements and see why he is a reliable and strong source of information for this topic. Udemy says that the two underappreciated factors that contribute most to your block clutching ability are your clicks per second, CPS, and your reaction time. He also says that I need to lower my FOV because things are looking like a GoPro right now, but more importantly, blocks appear bigger and are therefore easier to click with lower FOV, which means easier block clutching. So after all your very impassioned comments requesting the exact same thing, it is Udemy's powerful recommendation that finally makes me change my settings after 4 years. I do this with a heavy heart, I hope you know that. As any tutorial goes, let's start with the easiest stuff first and move our way up to the most advanced techniques. The easiest thing you can do is figure out what settings are most comfortable for you. As said, an FOV around 70 or 80 is preferable, especially as opposed to Quake Pro, but also consider sensitivity. Find one you're comfortable with that allows for a lot of control, because the harder block clutching techniques are going to ask that you have a very commanding control of your player. Block clutching feels best when it feels like you're in the driver's seat and are in charge of every tiny little movement. Also, I don't personally do this because I think it's dumb, but some people set a special hotbar key for their blocks so they can switch to it easily. Like keeping your blocks in the 9 slot and setting a button on your mouse as the hotkey to switch to that 9th slot so you can block clutch on command. But I find it's really not all that different from just having the normal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hotkeys as they are. Do whatever floats your boat though, everyone has their own preferences, and in any case, your block should always be conveniently accessible. See this clip where I couldn't block clutch because I had my blocks in the very uncomfortable slot of 7. I'm dying, man! I can't access my blocks, you're like all the way in Africa! Now for the actual block clutching stuff. Start off nice and simple. Don't expect to run without learning to walk first. If you came here looking for the more advanced stuff though, check out the timestamps that should be present in the progress bar of this video, if not in the pinned comment and description. I hope that helps you find what you're looking for. Probably the easiest block clutch you can ask for is to have a tall vertical surface. Just jump face first towards that, look down with block in hand, and either time your right click or spam right click. I think it's much better to spam it, but you might find it helpful to try both just to test their different functionalities. With the tall vertical surface, you can fail for a long time, but because it's so tall, all that's required to eventually succeed is just small adjustments of the cursor and you can get it. Learning these cursor adjustments is very important, so you get to really narrow down where you have to be looking in order to get this successful clutch. In a real game, you'd probably die of fall damage, but that's why we're practicing here. You get better and better at this very simple task, you can gradually work your way up to making the clutch while falling as little distance as possible. Also, there's ladder clutching that serves to prevent fall damage. It's basically the exact same concept as block clutching, but you want to sneak to grab the ladder once you place it. This tall vertical surface thing is most useful in Skywars when you're trying to bridge to islands faster. The clutch helps you to make that extra distance while saving time, and you can really see the advantage of having more blocks underneath when you compare this to block clutching on bridges. This is most often the case in bedwars, where there's no blocks underneath the bridge, so you only get one shot, one block with which you can make the clutch. This requires much more precision as compared to when you had so much more blocks to work with as in the tall vertical surface. But before we get to that, let's try something easier than clutching on bridges, clutching alongside a vertical surface. You can do this with things like buildings in some maps. You have to be using the forward key as well as the strafe key here while kind of looking at a 45-degree angle. Hold down your spacebar and sprint key and spam right click. The faster you spam click here, the better. Make the vertical surface as tall as you need. Taller, again, means more opportunities to clutch. Anyways, you should find that once you get into the groove of things, block clutching along this straight surface is very simple. Once you get the first block down, you're basically just running along that surface spamming right click. But don't worry, we can make this harder. Imagine this is a game of bedwars where you can't spare this many blocks, or you don't want to make it so easy for the people behind you to just follow the bridge you've made. That means instead of just spamming right click, try timing it. Only place the blocks you're going to need to jump on. This is about once every 3 blocks. You're just doing 3 block jumps. How else does this get more difficult? Try clutching along a vertical surface, but then see if you can go around a corner. As I mentioned, maps with buildings have these vertical surfaces, and they also have corners. Another good exercise is to try clutching along a diagonal surface. Maps with conventional islands, and there's a lot of those, usually have these jagged diagonals. This is a fair bit harder. So I hope you see there's all these variations of exercises, all of them applicable, and the more you practice each one, the more adaptable you will be to different circumstances and environments. In short, doing all these exercises will help you learn to block clutch just about anywhere. Now we get to the bridge clutching. This stuff is actually applicable not only for bridges, but for any island-ish horizontal surface that you can get knocked off of. Again, we gotta crawl before we can walk, before we can run. Just stand on a bridge and sneak on the edge. Jump back and off it, try to clutch that. This is as easy as you can get. You were fully expecting to do this clutch, block in hand, facing the spot and everything. That's not how it's going to work in real games. The thing about real clutching is that you're not supposed to be expecting to do it until milliseconds before the clutch. You have to get block in hand and look in the right direction at a split second's notice. You'd probably be fighting someone right before you need to clutch. You gotta be ready to switch gears just like that. This may be partially why Udemy says reaction time is so important in block clutching. But before all that, before you can get to that level of skill, you gotta go through this basic stuff. I mean, if you can't do this, how will you ever clutch in real games? To ramp it up, try looking out, not at the spot, jumping off, then turning to place a block. If you get good at that, try doing the same but without block in hand at first. You gotta jump off, turn to look at the spot, and get your block in hand before you can clutch. If you're comfortable with this, then you can try setting up a dispenser with arrows or spawning skeletons that simulate someone knocking you off the bridge. Run past this dispenser or skeleton, block in hand, facing the spot, and when you get shot, try the clutch. Get good at that, pretend you don't know you're going to get shot. Not facing the spot, maybe no block in hand. You get shot, you gotta switch to clutch mode instantly. I hope you can see how you can ramp up slowly the difficulty of these exercises depending on what skill level you're at. Now for some more complex stuff. Double extensions. Sometimes if you get knocked off far enough from safe ground, a single block of clutch is not going to be enough to catch you. You need to place 2 or more blocks. The theoretical maximum you can do is 5, and that's very difficult. You'll need very high clicks per second to manage double, triple, etc. extensions, but if you're comfortable with everything else I've already discussed, you should be looking to maximize your block clutching abilities via these extensions. They are also possible going forward as opposed to getting knocked off. A forward double extension will let you close a 6-block distance. But it's the normal extensions that are most difficult. To perform them successfully, you need very high CPS, very precise aim, and very good reaction time. Like always, the best way to practice them if you can't even do them at all, which is likely given how hard they are, is to start as easy as possible. See how I'm looking at the spot, block in hand, ready to clutch. I'm making it as easy for me as can be to react fast to getting shot. Practicing having a seizure on your mouse whenever you're in danger of falling off the island or platform is also paramount to developing good CPS and reaction time. The following won't be very applicable in real games, but just to practice maintaining as much control of your character as possible, try these exercises. Using sand or gravel instead of solid blocks to clutch along a wall. This means you have to place the block much closer to when you land so that you can still land and jump off it when it's solid. Iron bars or glass panes on the wall also force you to move further away from the wall than you normally would. These are difficult, obtrusive, and inconvenient, but that's the point. You're not always going to be clutching in clean or convenient areas, they're going to demand a lot of control and precision on your part. It may also be fruitful to learn how to do neos, jumping around blocks. These show up naturally in any bridge-based game. I've done a video showing techniques where you can perform neos to your advantage. You can combine tricks with neos with block clutching. Say you block someone off from chasing you, creating a neo. You can perform that neo, hit the person off when you land, and if they hit you back, you block clutch to safety. Of course, these exercises get easier if you have your own personal server that you can practice these on with a friend. Then they can actually hit you off instead of relying on mobs or dispensers. Now, all of this, it's not something you just practiced once for an hour and then you've developed all the block clutching skills you'll ever need. No. I think every time you want to play a game seriously where block clutching is applicable, you should do some isolated block clutching exercises first, like I showed in this video. In League of Legends, all the best players are incredibly well polished in their mechanics, combos, last hitting, these sorts of things, but they still practice those skills daily. And you should too. Have fun. As a kid, I had a lot of really stupid interactions with my peers. These seem to be common among most kids. Things like one of us did something the other didn't like, and the conversation instantly devolves into I didn't, did too, did not, did too, back and forth, because I guess our brains were just too underdeveloped to realize the fruitlessness of the argument. There's other examples too, mostly along similar lines. He started it, no she did, no him. Kids are stupid. I think one of my personal favorites is when you start doing really exaggerated, over-the-top caricatures of each other. This is you. Yeah, well, this is you. And this is you. I had my fair share of these interactions as a kid, but I think when I was 5 years old, I came to the realization that that last one I mentioned is really a big sham. Not because of how illogical or pointless it is, but because of the fundamental backfiring of the argument after the initial attack. If I'm to imitate you derisively, and you're to imitate me directly after, then that can easily be interpreted as you imitating my imitation of you, and that means you're only making fun of yourself. If your aim is to make me look stupid, but I'm supposed to look stupid because I want to capture your stupidity, then you are only intensifying your own stupidity both within the argument and because of your argument, and your utter failure to recognize the trap you have so inadvertently fallen into. In summary, if someone gets you with the, "This is you," there is no comeback. Not in the traditional sense, at least. If you fight fire with fire, you have only lit yourself on fire. It cannot go beyond the first imitation, lest the second shooter want to shoot themselves. After realizing this at a young age of 5, I applied this in all my arguments of this nature. I would hit someone with the, "This is you," and they'd fall for it, responding with, "This is you," and I'd say, "You just made fun of yourself, aha." But alas, they would not understand the reality of the situation and the depth of their own failure. I had not the means then to package these concepts concisely or clearly into words understandable by the folks of that age, so my genius went unnoticed. One of my greatest regrets in life. Oh, we got the double invis. Look at us. Goodbye. Ah, why'd you expose me, man? Doesn't matter. Move, man. Bye. Funny, man. Funny, man. Ouchie, wow. You trying to throw flames? But I got the parkour skill. I'm placing blocks. Goodbye for life. Okay. Hacker's password. My bad. Lol cry. I pro 2 with Clara. What language is that one? Ouchie, wow, I hurt my back. Goodbye. Who will move first? Who will make the first move? They will. Turn around, buddy pal, old friend. Brain-headed brain. Move. Go fight the other people, man. What are you doing? I said go fight the other people. What are you doing, pal? Just trying to place blocks? You're on fire, man! You're not throwing things properly! You're not doing anything right! Move, Mr. Buddy Pal, old friend. Come to meet you, make it come to meet you, end. You did. They'll never see me here. Oh! Move, Buddy Pal, old friend! Goodbye! Bye. Bye, bye! Ah, move, man. I said move, man. Move, man! You think I'm not coming for you? I am. Move! Get out of the way! Ah! Ah! Oh. How did we win?